Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by FanDuel. This is your NFL Week 2 Best Bets episode. I'm your host, Brendan Glasheen. Today, joined by three Action Network experts who'll go through their three favorite bets for each of the games they like this weekend. Last week, our experts had a solid week. 6-3, our record. That's pretty good. Good start to the season. Today, we've got Brandon Anderson back, Luke Swain, otherwise known as Vegas Refund, and also joining us, Dane Martinez, Action Network NFL expert. He's the host of our new live show, Green Dot Daily. It's at noon Eastern every weekday over on the Action Network YouTube. You can also find us on the socials and the Action Network app. As a reminder, you can use that very same Action Network app to follow today's picks and just use the app's follow feature and search for Action Network NFL picks. All right, first we're going to go around the horn real quick. One sentence summary of this coming Sunday slate, week 2. Brandon Anderson, why don't you start us off?
Week 2 is overreaction week. We waited all year for data and numbers. We finally got it. Be careful out there. We have some very tricky lines. You don't have to play every game every week.
Okay, how about you, Luke?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same, the overreaction week, but at the same time, we don't want to overreact in terms of like all the trends hitting this past Sunday, because I think every single trend that all the media outlets were pumping hit.
Has your bubble burst or
there we go.
Your brain in a pretzel? Dane
Exactly.
Martinez, week 2 in one sentence. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. The overreaction season that everyone's talking about is certainly in play. But for me, I always also like to look at week 2 is the home opener for some teams. We talk about the boost of the home opener last week for some teams. Some of them have their home opener this week, and I like that adrenaline as well.
Okay. I think I used this word last week. I'm using a word, not a sentence, but patience. Patience. If there is a player or a team that you are high on and they had a bad first week, doesn't mean everything's going to crumble. And if a team did well that you thought would suck, that could still happen. So give it time. They might stink. All right. First best bet of the day will come from Brandon Anderson. As a reminder, these fellas have not consulted with one another before we started recording, so there might be some overlap in picks. They may contradict. It's every man for himself here on these best bets. So with all that being said, let's get into the picks. Brandon Anderson, start us off. Your best bet, your first one.
I'm going back to the well on the Pittsburgh Steelers in another raw underdog spot for Mike Tomlin. Steelers plus 2.5 home underdogs against the New England Patriots. Now we'll start with this. On Sunday night, on our Monday podcast, I gave this out as my hot read. I expected this line to go the other way. I thought Pittsburgh would be favored by kickoff. It is moving towards New England. People are putting their money on the Patriots. I'm sticking to my guns here. We know the trends. Bill Belichick's great after a loss. We know that he's going to have the Patriots ready, but I kind of think that that's just buying us some points here. That roster of guys, the ones who have to actually play the game, I'm not sure they've earned the credit that Bill Belichick has. The Patriots looked rough against Miami, and I especially was concerned about their offensive line. That's been a staple strength for Bill Belichick over the years. They struggled, and Pittsburgh is not a team you want to play when that line is struggling. Now, I know TJ Watt is out, but the Steelers are not a one-man defense. Cam Hayward is a future Hall of Famer. Alex Highsmith had 3 sacks last week. Minka Fitzpatrick was a superstar doing everything for them. I think Pittsburgh's defense is clearly, even without TJ Watt, the best unit on the field here. We know the Mike Tomlin underdog stats, 46, 23, and 2 against the spread now. That's 67%, but even better, astonishingly good at home as an underdog, 14, 3, and 2 against the spread. Nearly uncoverable, unbeatable. You want Mike Tomlin at home. So a couple other trends here. We're not expecting points in this one. The total is low. When a total is below 42 since 2018, the underdog in that game is 88, 54, and 3 against the spread. That's a 62% cover rate. There's not a lot of points. Then that spread is even more valuable. So we're getting the points here. One last trend. Teams that were week 1 underdogs, like the Patriots were, that become road favorites in week 2. It doesn't happen often, but those teams since 2005 are 4, 14, and 1 against the spread and have lost 9 of the last 10 outright. So there are trends you can do on either side here. The trends favor the Steelers. I think the rosters favor the Steelers. I'm going to take the steel curtain and I'm sticking with the Pittsburgh to do it again back-to-back weeks.
And that's not to say the Patriots could still win the game outright. They haven't been 0-2 since 2001. So that's pretty remarkable. And this is the first time they play each other without Brady or Roethlisberger at quarterback. Luke, what's your best bet? Any response to Brandon potentially?
So my first bet is actually going to be the Patriots -2.5. Where like for me, it's more of a fade of the Steelers where the game was a lot more close. Like the game was closer in terms of the Patriots and the Dolphins that are really like that the box score implies. Where the Pats had 3 turnovers. And if you take away those 3 turnovers, it probably is like a touchdown game. They might have not covered anyway, but it really, in terms of the Steelers, they were out first down 32-13 against the Bengals. They were outgained 432 to 267 yards, and they lost a time of possession battle as well. Bengals had it for 43 minutes and the Steelers had it for 26. And then the Steelers had 5 turnovers. That's really like what kept them in that game. I know TJ Watt is out and I know that defense is stacked, but in my opinion, TJ Watt's probably the most valuable defensive player in the entire league. And probably like one of the few that is worth like a point, if that. Teams off of double-digit blowouts are 40-25, 62%, which aligns with the Patriots as well. It really is like a buy low, sell high, overreaction type game to me. So I'm going to take the Patriots -2.
Okay. This opened earlier in the week, Pats -1, and just some other notes. Brandon's talking about Tomlin's success. As he mentioned, it's a high 60% clip against the spread. Bill Belichick against Mike Tomlin is 8-3 straight up, 7-4 against the spread. Belichick is Tomlin's second least profitable opposing coach. The only other one is Mike McCarthy. Dane Martinez, your best bet as you debut on our Action Network podcast for your first pick of NFL season.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'm breaking the tie here. I'm with Brandon. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers as home dogs getting the 2.5 points. You asked me for the one sentence before, right? I mentioned the home opener. So I like the fact that this game will be in the catch-up bottle, and I like Pittsburgh in this one. Before Luke was talking about fading the Steelers, for me, this is a fade of the New England Patriots. Like, I was down on the Patriots coming into this season. I'm on their under in the season win total, and I saw absolutely nothing that would scare me. Now, I know Watt is out, but just like Brandon said, I think the Pittsburgh defense is by far the best unit on the field. They've got playmakers left and right, and so you need playmakers on offense to beat them, to score against them. Cincy had some last week. Who is that guy for New England? Oh, am I scared of Nelson Aguilar, for goodness sakes? No. So to me, this is, I don't believe in New England. I don't see them ascending or improving. Mac Jones had back spasms, for goodness sakes. And I know Najee's banged up. I know Watt is not there, but Pittsburgh can still bring pressure on the quarterback. And that's what you need to do against a guy like Mac Jones, force quicker decisions. And then I think they're just too talented. Give me the home dog. I'll break the tie here with Pittsburgh.
Really is a shame we're not going to see that ketchup bottle, and now we're going to see an insurance title up on.
I know. I stopped mid sentence. I was like, the ketchup bottle. It's not that anymore.
That's fine. They do it with the Lakers too. It's Staples, it's crypto, whatever. Anyway, I hear you. And not only the back stuff with Mac Jones, it's also apparently he's got an illness now. He missed practice on Thursday, so we'll see what that means for the Patriots this week as well. Okay, let's move on. So we're all on this game. Interesting. Let's go to best bet number 2, Brandon Anderson.
All right, I'm going back to another one that we did last week. So we did Steelers last week, Steelers again. Last week we did the Colts game. I'm back on the Colts game this week, but I am flipping sides. I am backing the Indianapolis Colts -3.5 in Jacksonville. Not the place you want to be if you are a Colts fan. That has not gone well for you. The Jaguars have beat the Colts 7 times in a row, straight up. Now, again, I'm on the Colts here. We'll get there. We remember week 18. That was the game. That's the one that made the Colts what they are now, because they were supposed to make the playoffs. All they had to do was beat the lowly, awful, horrible, terrible Jaguars, who were going to contend for the number 1 pick, and they couldn't do it, and they blew it up. They got rid of Carson Wentz. And I know that terrible taste is in your mouth as a bettor. I know they let you down, but you know who else that taste has been sitting in for months and months? Everyone in this Colts franchise. This game is the game that they did everything for. This is the one you have to win this game if you are the Colts. You went out and got rid of Carson Wentz, who you traded a lot for, went and got a new quarterback, Matt Ryan, who I think limits the ceiling a little bit on this team. But the goal is you raise the floor. You eliminate some of those lefty Carson Wentz, whoops, sort of mistakes that, boy, he had some of those in that Jacksonville game. You raise the floor. The Jaguars, their relative strength is running the ball and stopping the run. That's a thing they do pretty well, but that is what the Colts do even better, I would say, as well as any team in the NFL. So this is a positive matchup for Indy. And I know traveling to Jacksonville has not gone well, but I think that's buying us a little value on the line here. I think that's getting baked into the number. And Indianapolis, this is your season. You can't tie Houston and lose to Jacksonville to start your year. They got Chiefs, Titans, Broncos coming up next. You got to have this one. And then here's the thing that pushed me over the edge. Last week, if you listened, Frank Reich, Colts coach, has still, even including last week, failed to win or cover ever in week one. Matt Ryan, 5-10 against the spread in week one. The worst coach and the worst quarterback week one in our system. So guess what I did? I went back to Action Labs. I ran the numbers for week two. Guess who the best coach is in our system in week two? It's Frank Reich. 4-0, perfect against the spread. Guess who the best quarterback is against the spread in week two? It's Matt Ryan, 11-3. These guys have a pattern of starting terribly. We saw it last week. They figure it out in week two once everyone overreacts a little bit. I'm going to go with the Colts here, minus 3.5.
You said to guess. I was going to say what you said for the record. Anyway.
And like one thing I want to point out on that one, which like that was like an amazing analysis, Brandon. But if you like, are the Jags 3 points worse than the Texans? Like the Colts were -7 at Houston last week, and now you're telling me that they're -4 at Jacksonville. Like to me, the Texans and the Jags aren't that different in terms of like ratings, where like that just makes this like the overreaction value bet.
Okay. Colts have lost 5 straight against the spread versus Jacksonville. And since 2015, 1-12-1 against the spread. So we'll see if Brandon, though, is giving them good vibes here. The Colts in week 2, -3.5 at the Jags. Luke, let's go to you next. What's your second best bet for us?
So it's going to be Niners -8.5, who are hosting the Seahawks coming off of that emotional game on Monday Night Football with Russell Wilson that they won. The Niners this past Sunday played the Bears. And they lost, of course, which that was in an absolute monsoon of a game. And it's really, you can't really take anything from this past Sunday's game in terms of like reacting to this Niners team. They lost Elijah Mitchell, but Shanahan's just, he brings in new running backs throughout the entire season. They're all the same. And it's his system. It's not Elijah. Like Elijah's a great player, but Wilson is going to fulfill that role as well. The Bears defense held Trey Lance in check, where Trey Lance made enough plays that I can watch him and say that he has it. He has progressed a little bit in terms of his rookie year to now. And I really just think that them going home after being on the road in week 1 and the Seahawks just coming off of that emotional win where they were outgained by 230 yards and their defense is just not good. I totally see the Niners just pounding them.
I may be overreacting to that young corner that was playing for Seattle. He's a hit or miss player to me. He could, get PI and totally cost you, or he can make a play. That feels like a wild card too in the passing game. Also, your thought on running backs quickly. Kyle Shanahan proves this. He's a great example of it. Belichick does it. They're like disposable razors, right?
They are.
Hey, next man up. You're in. Like that's why the teams that pay the running back, you're kind of dumb. It's kind of stupid.
He literally has like a type of running back where like all of his running back are just violent runners. Like they have absolutely no fear. They just hit the hole. And that's part of the reason I think why they always get injured. And the next guy up is just another guy that has no fear and he's running 100 miles an hour in that zone scheme. And it's just rinse and repeat. And they fell in. And that's why Wilson was the top waiver claim in fantasy league. So I don't think they're going to skip a beat at all.
Good luck, Debo, as they run you 8 times a game. With that being said,
Debo's a no fear runner too. It's just,
okay, very good. So we've got the Niners minus 8.5 going home to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Again, big emotional high win for them at home. Dane, your second best bet for us, please.
Fair enough. I will say, as far as Jeff Wilson being that number one waiver wire pickup, I was actually not spending a bunch of my fab budget because of what you guys already said. It's almost plug and play in San Francisco. Ayuk will get carries, Debo will get carries, and let's not forget Trey Lance will probably still lead them in rushing, just like he did against Chicago. But for my next best bet, I'm going with the New Orleans Saints. Again, what did I say at the top of the show? Home openers, I found yet another home dog. A lot of people think that Tom Brady and Tampa Bay are kind of like a fait accompli since he's been there. But you know who they lose to? Every single time. It's this New Orleans Saints team, and specifically this New Orleans Saints defense, which I think the key is they're able to get pressure on Tom Brady. Ever since he lost the Super Bowl to the NASCAR defense that the Giants put out, we realized getting pressure on Tom Brady, getting him off the spot was the key. They have sacked Tom Brady 13 times in 4 games against them, averaged another 15 quarterback pressures. That's the way you do it. And listen, what we have seen is the deterioration / evolution revolving door of the Tampa Bay offensive line already early in this season. I think that even is another point for the pass rush of New Orleans. You know how Lattimore and Mike Evans like to renew their hostilities. We also have a banged up wide receiver core for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Julio was DNP today. Godwin is all but listed as out. So I wonder, where else do they go? I'll also tell you, I said it at the top of the show, home opener. I have been in that dome. I have stood up and got crunk. Nothing gets louder than in there. I like New Orleans. They have Tampa's number. The O-line is bad for Tampa against this pass rush. Give me another home dog. I'm taking the Saints.
Are you going to go to help your bet?
No, because that would be like a jinx of it. I don't want to do that. I'm just giving it out there. I bet there's like 50 or 60,000 other people who will go and hopefully tail.
There you go. Yeah, that you have faith in the right people. That's for sure. Yes,
It's hurricane season too. I don't know.
Tom Brady 1-4 against the spread against the Saints over the last 5 years. I can't get out of my head his debut with Tampa, week 1 back in 2020, and he looked lost. But he's been there for 3 years. It has been his team he struggles against. Of course, the playoff win is the exception. Okay, very good. So we've got 3 different picks for pick 2. Let's move to our final best bet from each of the guys. Brandon, you first. Best bet number 3 for week 2.
Yeah, boy, speaking of can't get out of your head, I can't get out of my head the most recent Tom Brady game against the Saints, which cost us our MVP ticket that we waited all year on last year, and then he laid the egg on Sunday night. So speaking of Sunday night, I am going to stick with Sunday night here. Close out our Sunday together. I'm going with the home team, another home favorite here. Big favorite, our Green Bay Packers, minus 9.5 right now. RELAX, relax. Do not overreact to what you saw last week. Like Luke said, nothing to take away from the Bears game here. The Bears are bad. We know the Bears are bad. Everyone knows the Bears are bad. I have them bottom 3 offense, bottom 3 defense. They're not a good team. No one watched last week and thought they were good. They had 73 yards in 40 minutes. And then, monsoon stuff happened and things went awry. So not much to take away there. I think we're overreacting a little bit to the Packers game, though. They lost to the Vikings and everyone's like, oh no, PTSD. I remember last year, week 1, Aaron Rodgers, the Saints, it was really bad. Yeah, it was really bad. This was not so bad. First play from scrimmage, Christian Watson. Aaron Rodgers hits him in the hands, 75-yard touchdown. He drops it. So there's 1 touchdown off the board. Later in the half, Packers have a 4th and goal. They don't get in. The Packers lost by 2 touchdowns. That's 2 touchdowns. That's the game right there. This defense allowed 23 points to Minnesota. I think in a couple of months, we might look back and say, you know what? It's pretty good. Minnesota's offense is really good. You held them to 2 field goals in the second half. It's a pretty good effort. This is a very good spot for Green Bay. Look, here's the thing with the Packers. I don't need to argue why the Packers are better than the Bears. You already know that. So let me just back it up with a slew of trends that are all in our favor. Every one of these trends I'm about to tell you has an against the spread record in Aaron Rodgers' favor of 64% or better. Rodgers at home, 66%. Rodgers is a home favorite, 65%. Rodgers at home in prime time, 69% cover rate. Rodgers is a division favorite, 64%. After a loss, 64%. Rodgers against the Bears, 20-7 against the spread, 74%. That is his most profitable team. He said it last year. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. He always has. He always will. I live in Chicago area. They should put up a statue of Aaron Rodgers here in Chicago because that's pretty much how much he's dominated. So I think we had a stat earlier about losing by double digits in week 1, 40-25. That's the Packers here. They lost by double digits. I think we're getting a few points on the line. One last number. Matt LaFleur has lost 10 times in his career as a head coach. After a loss, he is a perfect 9-0 straight up and 9-0 against the spread after a loss with this team covering by more than 10 points a game. Relax. Packers are fine. I've got an article up at Action backing them plus 1,500 to win the Super Bowl. This is a great buy low spot Sunday night. I think we're going to be able to hit the sack early. Packers roll.
Okay. A similar stat, you mentioned LaFleur. Rodgers has a similar stat as well. 8-1 straight up, 9-0 ATS against the Bears after a straight up loss. Minnesota's pretty good. I think we found out week 1, you can't overreact with that football team. That's for sure. By the way, what will help your case is if David Bakhtiari is able to go.
Yes.
Was active Wednesday this week. Thursday did not show up at practice. Could have been a maintenance day. We shall see what that means going forward. Okay, Luke, on to you. What is your best bet for?
It's gonna be the Packers as well.
Okay.
-9.5, -10 for all of the reasons Brandon just said. They couldn't have said it better. The one thing I do want to mention is the injuries you want to monitor are Lazard, Bakhtiari, and Jenkins, which I'm monitoring not in terms of like whether I want to be on the Packers. I can totally see if one of those two or two of the three are out, you're going to get an even better line. Where if it falls, like that's even better, and I'm still going to like the bet. Rodgers owns the Bears. The Bears, like I said, against the Niners, the monsoon, like they're just not good. I love this bet Sunday night. I mean, I think right now, the Packers are actually the contrarian side as well, which makes it even better.
You know something too, Justin Fields and his teammates sliding in the water so gracefully. That a lot of people made it feel good about the Bears coming out of that week. You know, it matters to some people, but that doesn't help covering spreads. Last I checked. Dane, take us home. Your third pick, your third best bet.
Yeah, I'm with these guys as well. Give me Green Bay as long as it's under 10 points like it is right now. I see it at 9.5. These guys talked about how the monsoon game was something of an anomaly, right? So I agree with that. We talk about, the Packers had that week 1, the lack of potential chemistry with some of the new wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers has to build that as well. But Brandon was with me on Green Dot Daily earlier in the week, and I'm with him. He was saying the same thing. And I was saying, all the Packers fans need to just talk to the shamans, take some ayahuasca, and absolutely relax. But here's the one thing that neither one of these guys mentioned so far. We only have one game so far in the season, right? And I just think that game script got away from Green Bay against Minnesota. We're going to realize that Minnesota is a good team. And coming into this season, Green Bay wanted to be a little bit more of a run-heavy team with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They just never had that opportunity. I think the game script will be more in their favor. They will be able to kind of run the rock a little bit. And Chicago did give up over 170 yards to the Niners and their run game in the monsoon. So I think it profiles well. If Green Bay gets up, they will be able to continue to hammer them utilizing their run game, which they've always wanted to here in 2022. And it's another home opener. I'm with these guys. Make it a sweep. Give me Green Bay.
All right. A lot of Packers love on our week 2 best bets episode. Want to look ahead to week 3 because why not? We can sometimes get an edge. The look ahead line for next week that the guys might be eyeing. Again, you like a number now. We got the FanDuel Sportsbook up right now. This episode brought to you by FanDuel, of course. Brandon, any lines that jump out to you for next week that you think the people should jump on now?
I've got one. So as you listen to this, it is Friday and you just watched the best game of the week, Chargers, Chiefs, Amazon Prime, Thursday night. We're back, baby. Thursday night football. Guess what? We got our good one out of the way. Next Thursday, we're getting gross. We're getting dirty and I'm jumping in the mud. Steelers, Browns, Thursday night. Jacoby Brissett, Mitch Trubisky, Amazon Prime. Let's go. I'm taking the under. We're at 40.5. I think this line can only go one direction. Nobody thinks these teams are good on offense. We know they're very good on defense. We know what that means, especially on a short week. Just look at what happened this week. The Steelers are playing the Patriots. The line opened at 42.5. It's gotten down to 39.5. The Browns and Jets opened at 42, down to 39.5. Both of those games, we're looking at saying, hey, you know what? I think I'll bet against offenses doing anything useful in that game. I'll take the defense. So now we're getting both defenses together. This line's only going to go one direction. Thursday unders since 2010, when it is 40 points or lower on the total, which it's not yet, but I'm expecting it to get there. We're just getting a better line on it. When Thursday total is 40 or below, the under is 15-5 since 2010, covering by 8.6 points a game. So covering with ease, really. And by the way, of those 20 games, we had 154 in there. We had 244s. Every other game, 40 or below, every one of them. So that 40 and below wins our bet. If the number does go in that direction, I expect that it will. It's going to be ugly Thursday night like we love it. It's the only way to do Thursday night. Get out of here, Chiefs Chargers. Give me Browns Steelers. Let's make some money.
So gross that part of me wonders if we watch the game and then Brandon Anderson in the mud for halftime entertainment purposes. I mean, oh, geez. I mean, that could be a way better, more entertaining product. Brandon Anderson in the mud next Thursday. Very good. Dane, you've got a thought on a line for next week too. What do you got for us?
First of all, I'd love to see Brandon Anderson in the mud a lot more than Justin Fields in the slipper slide that was Chicago last week. Give me Brandon in the mud if you want to know the truth. He's also, by the way, guys, we're talking about this Thursday Night Football now streaming on Prime. It upsets me. You know why? Because with the streaming service, we're going to be another 20 to 30 seconds delayed in the live betting markets. And that really bothers me. I know we talk about what happens live. Those streaming services will give you even less of an edge in the live markets. Make sure about that. I'm looking to a team that was on Thursday Night Football already, the Chargers. They're going to have the benefit of the extended rest, and they will be welcoming the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 3. The line now stands on FanDuel at 9.5, and watch out because I think that could climb. You know, Brandon was talking about he still has faith in the Green Bay Packers. I have Justin Herbert MVP tickets. I have Los Angeles Chargers Super Bowl tickets. I think they are easily a top 3 roster as far as talent goes in the NFL, and quite frankly, I don't think this Jacksonville team on short rest on a long flight can keep up with the Chargers. I like Los Angeles next week at only 9.5 as long as it stays under double digits.
All right. Very good. Keep an eye on that. And again, if you're listening now on Friday, jump in on Chargers Jags before that number grows beyond 2 scores.